defend himself? Is this basically what's happening?
Well, Sasha Kleshin found out the hard way. We still don't know exactly what transpired. It's maybe more than one game. This is what we don't know. If something did happen, both players could be suspended for more than one game. This obviously hurts Toronto a lot more. I think this is frustrations for Jozy Altidore stemming not just from this game, not just from the way he was treated at Red Bull Arena in the first leg, but he and Michael Bradley are the symbols of the U.S. men's national team failure right now, and they're getting the brunt of that. And I think you can see this kind of boiling over there. And he reacted in a way that's I've never seen Jozy react like that.
I've been said if somebody grabs you, allegedly grabs you by the throat from behind, walking up the tunnel with a throng of people, and then, by the way, there was an unbelievable amount of people in that tunnel, way too many, then you show me somebody that isn't going to react to that, right? You're in a playoff game, right? It's already heated. You're up the tunnel, there's shouting going on, and all of a sudden somebody supposedly grabs you from behind.
I don't think Sasha Kleshin is that dumb to go by himself and attack Jozy Altidore. I don't think he has it in him. If you see the way this tunnel, the way the locker rooms are structured, you have to go down the tunnel, turn right immediately to the Toronto locker room, and to the left, going down the corridor, is the away locker room. It's close enough where they're going to have some words you can get into your face. I do agree. There's so many people in that tunnel. There's always...
Right, but it doesn't matter. Did somebody grab Altidore by the throat?
You can't tell a whole lot from the video, but what you do see is Sasha Kleshin at one point, very late on, walking from one side of the picture to the next, which means he kind of found himself alone with the Toronto players. Now, I'm not suggesting that anything onto what happened there, but it looks awfully suspicious at this point. And yes, the amazing thing for me is, as much as Altidore and Bradley have borne the brunt of some of US fans' frustrations of not qualifying for the World Cup, here you are, driver's seat, pole position to go through in this knockout tie, and you allow it to become an emotional farce. Never mind what happened in the tunnel at half-time. On the pitch, Toronto seemed to lose their cool, and that only benefited New York, who almost got through.
Well, it intrigued me listening to your commentary, because obviously you were there. No one had obviously told you what happened in the tunnel. And so you come out, there's no question, there's no Jozy Altidore.
Yeah, we notice it's 10 against 10, and then you're thinking, well, who is missing? And then...
So eventually you get a message from MLS, is that what happened?
No. There was no confirmation at all for minutes. So we were just working on supposition that obviously the two players had been sent off. We could see who was missing. We sensed, obviously, things could have been heading in that direction anyway, judging by the fractious end to the first half, and particularly this incident and the spectacular way that Altidore hit the deck after very little contact. But I've got a bit of a theory on this. I mean, Shaka's talking about that sort of lack of cool, that lack of discipline. We went down to the training ground the previous day to see Greg Vanney and Michael Bradley, and the message was the same from all the players and the staff. We're expecting a really aggressive, the worst possible aggression and aggravation from the Red Bulls. It was almost as if it was set inside their heads that was how it was going to be, because there's nothing to me about the Red Bulls' approach to the game that actually should have wound Toronto up in the way that they were wound up. It was almost as if it came from inside their own heads.
Are you telling me that you guys on the commentary box did not know?
We only knew when 10 players from either side trotted out of the tunnel at the start of the second half.
You can't beat good communication these days, can you? That's scary.
A text message would have helped. Altidore suspended for that game against the Columbus Crew. Take a look at these stats. For United, under Jose Mourinho, their last 11 matches against the Big Six. No wins, 5 draws, 6 defeats. Those 5 draws were goalless draws. Now, unbelievable. Unbelievable that you've got a Manchester United team who just can't get it done against other big teams.
Well, what he would say was last year was a time when he was shuffling the pack around. And so, to some degree, he was. But the way they played at Liverpool in particular, and they were a little better at Stamford Bridge in terms of trying to win the game, played 2 up front, played Mkhitaryan floating around, although he might as well have floated back to the bus because he hasn't been playing well. They're not getting the job done. But that's kind of Mourinho. I mean, we shouldn't be surprised with a big club, small margins, tight games scenario. But as Man City, who we're going to talk about, as Man City are showing, that ain't going to be good enough this year because that gap's extending.
It's a good point, isn't it?
Here's the amazing thing for me. And you know, they talk about, yes, they were better at Stamford Bridge. Manchester United had 2 shots on target, the second of which came in the 90th minute, long ball up to Fellaini. they got a shot, Courtois makes his save. You look at them at home against Spurs, how the goal came. Free kick from David De Gea, long ball forward, they get the goal, Mourinho remonstrating with the crowd into the cameras. And now my question is, has the expectation for Manchester United gotten so low that every time Manchester United get a shot on goal, we say, oh, they didn't park the bus, let's bake a cake. I don't understand that. 2 shots on target, yet all we're hearing, Manchester United fans are tweeting, we didn't park the bus at Stamford. 2 shots on target.
Did you say we didn't park the bus, let's bake a cake?
Well, everybody's celebrating. We didn't park the bus, let's celebrate.
But I suppose Manchester United fans on this instant will point to the fact they didn't have Paul Pogba, a big player, obviously, and one they spent a lot of money on.
Yeah, but they've got a huge squad and they've got depth in so many positions. I don't think they can point to that. I mean, when I look at Mourinho now, I'm just looking at a man who I think was ahead of his field 10 years ago, and now a number of his rivals, including the man he was up against yesterday, probably gone past him. And I think he's struggling to deal with that. And I think that some of the tactics that he employs were those he was employing 10 years ago. And they worked then in what was a different game. Now things have moved on, and I don't think he necessarily has in the same way.
So he's done?
No, I'm not saying he's done, but you know, it's adjust or die, isn't it, in many fields of life? And I think, you know, there needs to be a recognition on his part that, yes, some other people have come up on his shoulder, have gone past him, and he needs to adjust to prove he is one of the all-time greats.
I think not only was it a different game, but it worked for different clubs where the expectation was different. Chelsea hadn't won a title for 50 years, so they kind of embraced what Jose Mourinho brought a whole lot better, as did Inter Milan, and they both had success under Jose Mourinho. But when you look at his feelings at Real Madrid, where the expectation is so much higher, Capello got sacked after winning the title because they didn't appreciate the football that he was playing. And now Manchester United, now despite the lean years post-Alex Ferguson, I certainly still feel that Manchester United's expectation is greater than what we've been seeing. The expectation in terms of the football is a whole lot greater than what we've been seeing under Jose Mourinho.
I think the praise for others, as John said, the praise for others is certainly having, I think, an effect on not the players. Players don't really bother, they get on with it, try and do their job. The manager, the supporters, the way, I mean, if City keep going the way they're going, right, I think United fans at the end of the season will have to gauge what that gap is between themselves and City and then decide if they're happy. Maybe he'll have to use the Champions League, as strange as that may seem, as some sort of tool to be somewhat competitive.
Yeah. Using
that style of play till they get to the real big boys. But a bit like Wenger in a way, that everything else, the trains come flying past. And he's kind of stood still and tried to do it a certain way. And that's why I don't get this PSG thing. And I know Mourinho's successful. We all know he's successful. Nobody's arguing against that. You know, winning the UEFA Cup at Porto and then winning the Champions League the next year. Winning at Inter Milan. The success he had at Chelsea. The success he had to an extent in Madrid. But the teams are playing differently now. The teams are playing differently and the supporters want a little bit more for their money, and they're not getting it at Man United. I saw you put some on Twitter the weekend, and I did, and it was the kind of theme that was going around that, well, we can get back on the bus at the Etihad as an Arsenal player, and I'm not saying this is their mindset, but it was the kind of feeling I got, and we can get on the bus, we can get to the airport, we can get back to London, because we didn't get smashed. We didn't get smashed, and it was better than Liverpool. And I think, and I said it at the weekend, is that where Arsenal have got to? Yeah. Is that where Arsenal are at the moment? Because they're certainly not in this title race, but let's not get smashed by the bigger teams. Let's be somewhat competitive.
How low is that
and get back to London. I'm sorry, Arsenal fans. There needs to be more than that.
You're absolutely right, Craig. And this has been my complaint about Arsenal for the last few years. They have an ability to find an excuse and cling to it. They were playing well at 2-1, yes. I admit that, and looked as likely as ever to get back into the game or get something out of it. Penalty was offside, no question. So now you cling to that.
The goal was offside.
The goal was offside, sorry. The goal was offside, the third. So now you cling to that. Well, we played really well, and a bad goal kind of scuppered us out of a point. And you hold on to that, and at no point does your bar ever raise. And I made the same comment 2 seasons ago. Worst Premier League we've seen for what, 5 or 10 years. Leicester go on and win it. Yet Arsenal was celebrating postseason. Why? Because we finished ahead of Spurs. And I said then, you're celebrating the wrong things. Your bar is supposed to be a whole lot higher than that. And then look what happened the following season. Look how Spurs has continued to kick on. Look how Arsenal continues to cling to the wrong things, in my opinion.
Let's talk title race. It's never happened before in the Premier League era. A team have an 8-point lead after 11 matches. Is it over?
It's very tempting to say it is. I mean, the vagueness of the
say it if
Premier
you
League
want.
as such.
Go on, say it.
I
Go
find
on.
it very difficult to see anyone other than Manchester City winning the title from here, as much as anything, just because they are playing football from another level.
Done?
And dusted.
And also the shortcomings of others. I mean, I think the shortcomings of Manchester United are being laid bare these past 2 or 3 games as well.
And Arsenal are an afterthought. Arsenal are an afterthought. And it's up to Tottenham. Let's see what...
Is it done?
I'm going to say no, just because I don't want it to be done. Because I think it's bad news.
It's going to be a long winter on this
I mean,
couch.
City didn't have to be their magical best to still look good.
Yeah.
Even when they're not playing well by their current standards, they still look good. The movement's frightening. Aguero, after a season where when Jesus came in, we thought, well, does the manager like him? Does he think his attitude's not right last year? Will he sell him in the summer? Is he still happy? He's adored by City fans. And I think that reciprocates from them to him and from him to them. And to break the record, he got an award before the game. Yeah. He's absolutely magic. The 4 or 5 players behind him are brilliant. And
it's not done.
And I'm dying for it not to be done.
It's definitely not done. Gab Marcotti, Michael Emenello leaving Chelsea. Just explain the intricacies of the Chelsea boardroom and why this is significant.
Well, it's significant because since he ascended to the role of technical director back in 2011, he's effectively been in charge of transfers at Chelsea, both for the first team and for the academy, where obviously they've been very successful, winning 6 of the last 8 English titles in that department. But also, he's played a key role in everybody that the club's brought in and sold, an area which often gets overlooked. Over the years, you know, he's had a number of hits and he's had some misses as well. But there's also been a whole bunch of players who were brought in. I'm thinking of guys like Mohamed Salah, like Juan Cuadrado, Romelu Lukaku, Kevin De Bruyne, who for whatever reason didn't work out at Chelsea because the manager didn't like him, but they were originally there. His transfer dealings helped Chelsea comply with financial fair play over the years. And he really, I think, in many ways acted as a bit of a buffer between the manager and, of course, they've had 7 in that time period, and Roman Abramovich as well as the playing squad too.
Did the 7th manager get rid of him?
A lot of people are going to embrace that narrative, and I think it is certainly accurate to say that Conte was frustrated over the summer because there were all sorts of players he wanted to sign, like Alexandro and possibly Romelu Lukaku as well, that the club were unable to deliver. But I think it's a bit simplistic. There were tensions, and to some degree there still are, between Conte and Marina Granovskaya, who effectively runs the club on a day-to-day basis. But my understanding is that in many ways, Emenalo was a bit of a buffer there between the two of them. And I think the reality from Conte's perspective is, you know, now that the January transfer window is now approaching, the club are going to need to strengthen 1 or 2 areas. Now they're in a position where they're without a director of football, they're without their main recruitment specialist. Somebody is going to have to step into the void and do that job and deal with those negotiations. And, you know, it is something that requires a specific skill set.
Yeah, he's going to. I mean, Conte. I mean, I don't know if Conte will designate the players he wants because I don't know how long he's going to be there. I don't think this greatly changes his philosophy and mindset because I think he's kind of made that pretty clear. These sort of structures at clubs can be quite complex. It's not quite like what I would call the good old days where at Man United, if we take them as an example, Ferguson said to Martin Edwards or in later years David Gill, go and get me that player or else. Basically, get them, fight tooth and nail. I want this player. It is a lot more complex than that, and there is a lot going on behind the scenes. That being said, I don't think the whole thing is going to crumble in the short term because Michael Emenalo has left. So Chelsea no doubt somewhere down the line we'll have to try and fill that void. And they'll be looking for a manager probably in the summer again when Conte leaves, because that's the likelihood of what will happen. But that's the Chelsea model. It's the Chelsea model of the last, 15 years or so since Abramovich has been there.
What do you think, Champers?
I think Michael Emenalo must have been an arch politician to have survived this long, given the structure there. That's the first thing. And it just intrigues me as to who they could possibly get in to fulfil that role, given the restrictions that they are, given the problems that there are, but also, on the flip side, given the opportunities that there are to actually make an impression if you can manage those political relationships.
Welcome to Extra Time. John Champion's here for a week.
Yeah.
That's much more than a week. When did you arrive?
Yesterday.
No, into our country.
Into 1 o'clock this morning.
Yeah, it was in Canada,
in Canada.
Yeah.
Same thing, isn't it? Well, I mean in North America. That's what I mean, North America.
Right, got to North America on Friday, Craig.
Right, so you're here. God, you want to spend some time at home?
Says him. Says him. Grandad there.
Not that again.
And he said, he came on and bless him, he did the Max and Hert podcast, and he said he wants to come on every week now and do it.
15 all.
If they pay him.
Okay. So it won't be happening then, will it? No.
Is Chelsea's performance against United the one they need to turn their disastrous season around?
What season disastrous?
Well, this person's put disastrous in air quotes.
Oh, my word. Well, I'm not sure I'd go along with disastrous. I think they've been half decent. In fact, probably a bit better than that. So I'm not sure it's a case of turning it around. I think it reinforces a bit of self-belief after a dodgy period. I'm not convinced that all is happy and well there, but at the same time, I still think that it was a deserved win, and I think it also laid bare a few of Manchester United's shortcomings.
Oh, you and your anti-United.
I think similar to the last year when they went on that 13-game winning streak. It's not going to happen again, but he made some big decisions after the Arsenal defeat, the Arsenal thumping. At the weekend, he made some big decisions on some players, particularly David Luiz. He boxed Clever after the game, saying, well, there's not a problem, but clearly there is. So I think he just got to that stage now after beating Atletico Madrid in Madrid and then thinking they were going to roll on from there, and it didn't happen. He probably thinks, right, that's it. I'm going back to what I was doing last year. That's it. If people don't like it, it's fine. The only big problem he's got, there wasn't anybody last year running away with things like Man City.
John, I think it's the first time you've been on since you joined Twitter. How's it treating you?
Well, I hesitate to say this simply kindly so far.
Not much abuse?
Well, not yet, no.
That'll change. Give it a couple of hours.
Yeah. I must admit, you got to work on your videos though.
You think so?
You're not shooting them very well.
It's not nice, is it? But coming from you, I don't see a great number of videos on yours.
Just anger. Anger and swearing.
I see vitriol, but not video.
Well, that's the kind of people I attract. I can't help that. I try to be nice. I've got a jacket on and a shirt.
But do you know the funny thing about Craig is most people who get abuse, you know, whatever. Craig comes in and goes, "Do you see what this bloke is?" Look what he called me.
It's great.
He's so proud of it.
This is the man who, for years, I worked with him, and he swore he would never be on Twitter. Now he's never off it.
Loves it.
Do you remember they used to do those social media things at Espn in the UK when we were working there? And we used to go, get that bloody social media stuff off.
I know, look at it.
But what other way have I got to keeping up with the news? I need to. That's all I do it for.
Well, that's it. Marcotti, how do you deal with trolls on Twitter?
I'm extremely nice to them, and I engage them in very long conversations until they eventually get bored and go away.
What he does, Gab.
I have to say,
Go on, Gab.
you know what fascinates me endlessly when it comes to former pros like Craig is that people will bring up stuff about their former clubs, trying to wind them up. And there was some guy today who had to go and talked about how bitter Craig was. The reason Craig is so bitter is towards Man United is that he's not gotten over the 1994 semi-final. Which I just thought was absolutely. I guarantee you, if you're watching, Twitter person who abused Craig, he does not care one iota.
I don't know, he brings up every day. He's got that picture of David Beckham with darts.
No, that was get your facts right. That was in '96 FA Cup semi-final. I'm falling Gab here, but it was the '94 FA Cup final, not the semi.
Ah.
When we lost to Manchester United 4-0.
Oh.
That's why that Man United fan.
I'm sorry, I
who
thought
may
it
have
was
been
the
slightly
Beckham part.
paranoid. No, that was later. I let it spread my mistakes out.
All against Manchester United, it seems.
Yeah. So yeah, I'm like, yeah, okay, 23 years on, you know, I'm still formulating analysis on a final from 23 years ago. You buffoon! Clearly not.
Should Wenger leave Alexis out of the squad completely till he's sold in January? His head is clearly not in it. Okay.
You should start by starting Lacazette. Is a good idea.
Yeah.
Alexis Sanchez makes any team better. I think he's just that good a player. Clearly, he's got his side set. I'm surprised, in all honesty, but Wenger has other issues of his own making.
Sané, Jesus, and Sterling.
Hold on, Gab wants to say something.
What?
Gab.
Oh, God.
Go ahead, Gab.
Sorry, I feel like I've stuck up for Wenger enough times. Now it's time to kind of put the boot in.
Oh.
I don't want to see this back three anymore. I really, instead of worrying about Lacazette and whatever, well, obviously, yes, Lacazette should start. You should, hey, try the novel idea of actually playing your better players. Play Lacazette with Sanchez, with Ozil, and then if you want to stick Iwobi or Ramsey in a line of three, go ahead and do that. But what is this? What is it with the three? Conte does it last year, and now all of a sudden, like, oh, I'll go ahead and do it as well. I know it yielded some results in the early going.
Didn't they win the FA Cup?
But that was
in the
when you
back
were
three?
playing centre backs who are actually central defenders.
Oh.
This is like Francis Coquelin in the back three. Enough.
All right. Sané, Jesus, and Sterling.
No,
the
Francis
next,
Coquelin in the back three, my God.
next MSN, very good and very young, will torture defences for years to come.
Is that a poem?
A question? Is there a question at the end of that?
Are they the next MSN?
No,
What do you make of Sterling, boys?
not MSN standard or quality, I would suggest.
But he's had a good start to the season, hasn't he?
Yeah,
I mean,
but
well,
you're talking about players at a really elevated level if you're talking
oh,
MSN.
no, I'm not putting him in that, but he has, and his end product is still not brilliant, although he's got a decent goal scoring start to the season. But the manager has got a better tune out of him.
He has, yeah, no doubt about that.
Final one. Why does Gab hold such a big... why does Bas Dost hold such a big chunk of Marcotti's heart?
You know what? I could probably share the reasons for that with you, but I think it would cause a massive disturbance in the space-time continuum and in the overall balance of the universe. So I'm going to keep that one to myself.
Oh, there you are,
All
then.
right, just do
I
a
have
column.
no idea what just happened.
Do a column.
When it's a quiet day, do a column.
Well, it's a quiet week, isn't it? International week. You're off tomorrow, in fact. It's so
off
quiet.
tomorrow. I'm off tomorrow because I'm doing the qualifiers which start on Thursday.
Oh, there you
The
go.
good news was
Good
the
news.
qualifiers are happening, but I did see today on social media that Scotland have got a new kit.
Is it pink?
No, it's blue, and everybody's over the moon back in Scotland at this new kit. Fantastic.
When are they going to wear it?
It's like, the kit, oh, we've got a new kit. Isn't the kit lovely? Oh, no, there's playoffs for the World Cup this week, but we've got a new kit. Talk about getting your priorities wrong. Well, we've got a new kit, that means we're getting to the next World Cup. All we need to do now, we've got the kit, it's fit, it's slim, it's rare, it's ready to go. All we need to do is find the players.
I imagine it's only available in small, isn't it, because of genetics?
Well, clearly, yes.
I think that's it.
No, not enough big players in Scotland. No, I'm not doing a boiling point. Somebody said I've just been asked. I'm not doing it. I don't get paid enough. Right, let's go. I've got to go to the pub.
There you are. ESPN FC is back tomorrow. No Craig Burley, but fear not, we will be here 6 p.m. Eastern on ESPN News.